Yes, my talk is about pair programming. We've been doing it in my work for trying to do it properly for around about a year, on and off. We've all come to the conclusion, or most of us that have tried it think that it's really cool and that it works, but it's a black art. So we've come up with a way of trying to make it easier for ourselves, and it's a pair programming tarot. So to make sure we're all on the same page, before we agree, so pair programming is just one PC, one PC, one screen, one keyboard, one mouse, and maybe like a notepad and paper and some whiteboard, but two people. So it's simple, right? That is all pair programming is. The problem is that it's two people. So pair programming is social, and it's like the most social way of doing social in software development, because you work in a team with other people. But if you work in a team with other people and one of them sitting next to you doing exactly the same task as you, that's really, really good. So there are a set of rules which already existed before we came along, so it's nothing, we haven't invented anything yet. And it's on extremeprogramming.org. There's a set of rules for pair programming, which I was completely unaware of until we were doing this for a while. The motivation behind the rules is that they make you focus on being humble, they make you collaborate explicitly. They split the two roles into one person being the driver or the person with the keyboard and one person being the navigator, the person who's kind of looking ahead. And they focus you on the fact that you both need to have a shared mental model of what you're doing, at least the bits that you're doing. And there's the rules themselves. So what we've done is we've taken the rules and we've made taken the tarot card deck and we've mapped a rule onto each of the tarot cards. The theory being you print them out and you remember what's going on. So the first three are really simple, but they're hard as hell. So number one, no backseat driving. So this is if you're the navigator, you cannot tell the other person they've typed something wrong. And it's really hard. Like you sit there and you go, oh, you mistyped it. You're not allowed to tell. Number two is for the driver. It's not a race, so you've got to slow down, which is really hard because when I'm doing it, I'm like, I need to be fast, But the person who's navigating needs to be able to follow what you're doing, so you shouldn't use keyboard shortcuts too much to flip between various classes and all that kind of stuff. You need to go slow enough that the other person is coming along and following what you're thinking at the same time as you're thinking it, because otherwise they're just playing catch up and they're not free to do the piece of work that they should be doing, which is kind of thinking ahead. And the third one for both of you, and this is the first exercise in humility, it's you might disagree, one of you's got an idea, the other one's got an idea. You can't do both, so ideally one of you say, that's cool, I'll park my idea, let's try your idea. But that's hard. So that's the basic three. Next one up, it's a kind of thing that both of you can do. It's the responsibility of the person who's the navigator to stay awake, to stay conscious, right? They're not typing, so it's hard to stay awake. And you can drift off and you can think, oh, I need to send that email to my wife and all that kind of stuff. So what you do is if you're aware that's happening, you ping pong. So you swap keyboards more often. You might say like, all right, unit test, you write the code. Next two sound worse than they are. Brick to the head, you do not put a brick to someone's head. But the theory is if somebody's stuck and somebody's going into a loop, you can say, right, I'm going to put a virtual brick to your head and kind of break you out of the loop. And the other one is, not as bad as it sounds, but your baby is ugly. So if someone's doing something that you really don't think is, it's just not as good as it could be, you need to agree with each other, to be honest and to be open with each other, to say, if you think that it's not great, you can say it, and the other person doesn't take it the wrong way and stuff. But that's hard to do. Next two, keep going. Sometimes, because you need to have this shared mental model, you need to make sure that you can be saying the same words and you think you understand, but then it comes to some point and you realise that someone else is not, you haven't understood what they're doing. So then you need to step back, maybe do a bit of whiteboarding or something to figure out what you do both understand, figure out where the disagreement is, and understand where you actually agree. And the next one is, if you can't be humble enough to say, right, you'll try your idea and we'll not try my idea, you say, right, both our ideas are good, but if we put them together, then the third idea, the combination of the two must be even better. So you try the third. This is the death card, so this is quite brutal. If somebody's just going down a complete rat hole, your job as the navigator is to cut them off, which is hard to do because they're like, I'm just there, I'm really there. And the last one, which is why it's someone resting a line, remembering the rules is the hardest thing, because you think you're doing it